Air France 447 suddenly disappeared from ATC radar. No signal of any kind was received, no voice message of engine failure, nor any complaint of damage. Yet how did this plane suddenly disappear? What happened to this plane? Why did this accident remain a mystery for many years, and 3 years later a miracle happened which exposed all the mysteries? In today's video we are going to reveal the mysterious incident of Flight 447 and the secrets behind it. Air France Flight 447 took off for Paris from an international airport in Brazil on May 31st, 29 at 10:30 p.m. There were a total of 228 people on board this plane. It takes about 10 to 12 hours to go from Brazil to Paris, and Air France 447 had already taken about 3 hours. ATC was continuously maintaining contact. This plane was about to reach the middle of the sea when ATC lost control over the plane. It was normal to lose contact with the plane in the middle of the sea because generally in such places, the planes go out of the range of ATC, and on the other hand, Senegal ATC across the sea was also unable to contact the plane because its range was also not able to reach there. In such a situation, Senegal ATC could only wait for the plane to come in range and we will be able to contact it again. Time passed, and even after about half an hour, there was no contact with the plane again. After tracking the last location of the plane, fighter planes were sent to investigate that area. By morning, many debris of the plane started being found. This plane had mysteriously crushed. The relatives of the passengers waiting for the arrival of Flight 447 could not know what happened, and it was very difficult to explain to them. How did the plane suddenly crush? 2 teams were selected for the investigation of this incident, the first to find the black box and the second to recover the debris and dead bodies of the plane. Everyday dead bodies were being taken out and handed over to their families for last rites. Some dead bodies were identified, but the condition of some was so critical that they could be identified by looking at their bodies. There were some people who could not even find the bodies of their loved ones. Even after 16 days of search, only 50 bodies out of 228 were recovered. The remaining bodies, including the plane's black box, had been lost in the depths of the sea, and even the investigation team was unable to reach that depth. Nuclear submarines were used to go into the depths of the sea and search for the black box. These submarines were trying to find the ultrasonic signals coming out of the black box. That too as soon as possible, because this black box could send signals only for 30 days. If it was not found within 30 days, then it could be very difficult to find it later. Days passed by even after searching the sea every day. Like every day, they returned empty-handed, and finally, after searching for about 12 months and searching 7 square kilometers, nothing could be found about the black box. With time, hopes were also being raised. 3 years after the incident, on April 3rd, 211, a private team WHOI was formed, and this team did a miracle. With the help of its technology, it found the black box within 30 days. They knew that searching in the sea is very difficult. There is no one to do it. This black box must have got buried somewhere in the grass, dust, and soil. That is why they sent some such underwater vehicles inside the sea which were fully automatic and could be controlled remotely. The special thing about these submarines was that they could scan the surface of the sea and prepare a map. Just like a satellite scans the moon and finds places. After a few days, a part of the plane was seen in the sea in the scanned pictures. Immediately a search team was sent there, and after a lot of investigation, both the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder were recovered after 3 years. And the surprising thing was that they found this black box within 30 days. 3 years after the incident, the time had come to unveil this mystery. The story that the black box revealed changed the thinking of the investigators. So let us know the story behind this incident in this case study. Let us begin this story from 3 hours later when this plane went out of contact with Brazil ATC. ATC thought that it must have gone out of our range. The ATC stuck on the other side of the ocean was also unable to contact. They too thought that they would establish contact with the plane in a few minutes, but Flight 447 was actually stuck in a terrible problem. This plane had entered amidst stormy clouds. Although the plane also has a weather radar which informs the pilots about the weather. But this radar provides information, it does not protect the plane. Now, because this was a moving plane, but no one can tell that if there is a way ahead, it can be stopped, reversed, and reversed. This cannot be done with a plane. If it once enters the stormy clouds, then the plane has to face it in any way. Talking about weather radar, it informs in advance. By detecting the water drops present in the storm, it shows the pilot on the display that there is weather ahead, but the question here is how long before the pilot gets to know about the storm. After all, what is the range of this weather radar? Well, here I will try to explain you with a simple example. Friends, how far a plane can see the storm depends on the power of the antenna and the spherical shape of the Earth. Suppose this is our Earth and this is your plane. If you point the nose of the plane upwards, then it is possible that you may see stars above or an alien. Well, anything can happen. If you point downwards, it is possible that you may see the International Space Station. If you point further downwards, it is possible that you may see satellites. But if you look at the curvature of the Earth, here you will get the maximum range, and as you keep pointing downwards, the range will keep decreasing. Of course, the pilots of Flat 447 must have already known that they were going to enter the clouds. But there is no option left at that time when there are clouds all around. Flat 447 had now entered the clouds, and clouds contain a lot of water which can easily freeze at a temperature of -40 degrees. Till now everything was fine in the plane. Contact with ATC was lost, but there was no need for it now. After spending a few minutes in the clouds, a strange sound began to be heard. This sound was of ice hitting the plane. This plane had to face a lot of heat for about 10 minutes. There was an hour to be filled, that's why there were 3 pilots in the plane. The most experienced captain had already flown the plane for 3 hours, and that's why he went to rest. Now the control of the plane was in the hands of the co-pilot, whose experience was less than both the pilots. Nighttime, then storm, then sound of ice hitting the ground. The co-pilot was getting panicked by all these incidents. But there was still nothing to fear, because as long as the autopilot is working well, then this autopilot can fly the plane well even through storms. As for the ice, there was no cure for it. This ice had started freezing the tubes of the plane, that is, the sensors which give important information to the autopilot. Like how fast are the winds blowing, what is the angle of attack, is the position of the nose of the plane correct or not, what is the altitude of the plane. All these sensors had started freezing, due to which even though there were 2 or 3 autopilots in the plane. But they also get information from sensors only. Autopilots do not have their own eyes. They are able to judge their environment only with the help of these sensors. If there is any fault in these sensors, the autopilot will become blind, that is, it will stop working, and the same thing happened with Flight 447. The pitot tube got blocked due to ice, due to which the autopilot also got disengaged. Till now the plane was in stable condition due to the autopilot, but due to its sudden disengagement, the plane started rolling towards the left. The co-pilot immediately took the plane in manual control and pushed the side stick towards the right to straighten the plane. Now the plane was sometimes rolling towards the left and sometimes towards the right, and the co-pilot was busy in stabilizing the rolling of the plane. This continued for about 3 to 4 minutes. After this, the co-pilot made a big mistake. He pulled the saddle stick backwards, due to which the nose of the plane started going up and the altitude of the plane kept increasing continuously whenever the altitude of the plane increased. Then the plane has to be taken upwards at a speed of almost 2 to 3 feet per minute. But Flat 447 was going upwards at a speed of 7 feet per minute. That too through stormy clouds, the angle of attack of the plane had become 30 degrees, and this was the first alarm bell. Due to the angle of attack, i.e. being above the nose of the plane, the wings stopped getting lift. And due to the collision of strong winds, there was drag in the plane as well, which started trying to slow down the speed of the plane. The co-pilot was already confused, and in the dark stormy night, the altitude of the plane, the speed of the plane, the autopilot, the sound of snow hitting the plane. Due to these incidents, the co-pilot was already scared, and again a problem came up. And this was the stall alarm. Friends, when the notch of the plane goes too high, then the winds start hitting the plane rapidly and the plane stops getting lift. This condition is called positive stall. On the contrary, if the notch of the plane goes too low than required. So this condition is called negative STL. Flight 447 had now gone into a stall condition. The co-pilot said that now the plane is not in my control. Now the second pilot took the plane under his control, and here he took a right decision. He put the nose of the plane down. To do this, he started pulling his side stick down. But the co-pilot was still pulling the side stick of the plane backwards while the other pilot was moving the side stick forward. Both the pilots were applying force in the opposite direction. Now the computer of the plane also got confused as to whom to listen to, the pilot or the co-pilot. Well, here, due to different commands, it was canceling the correct decision taken by the pilot. The pilot was now unable to even bring the nose of the plane down, due to which the speed of the plane started decreasing continuously, and the co-pilot was still pulling the side stick backwards. Now neither the pilot nor the co-pilot were able to control the plane due to the continuous decrease in the speed of the plane. And due to not getting lift, it started falling down like a stone. Now the captain entered here, who was the most experienced pilot in this plane, but his entry was very late. He saw that the stall alarm was sometimes going off and sometimes on. Actually, this was because sometimes the sensor of the plane was turning on, and as soon as it was on, it tried to tell that the plane has gone into a stall condition, but then the snowstorm was blocking the sensor, and the stall warning alarm was going off again. The first challenge before the captain was to bring the nose down. Only then the plane could be saved. Now the nose of the plane had turned 40 degrees. After the arrival of the captain, the pilot realized that he had kept the side stick pulled back, and because of this the problems were being created till now. But by the time the mistake was realized, it was too late. The speed of the plane had become very slow. This plane was neither flying nor gliding. It was falling down like a lifeless stone. This alarm was the last bell of death. Ground proximity warning alarm. This alarm rings when the plane comes very low to the ground. This alarm tells to take the plane up or else it will collide with the ground, but the pilots of Flight 447 could not do anything even if they wanted to. Except for waiting for death, it felt as if 228 people were imprisoned in a stone and thrown from feet down towards the sea. After a few seconds, this plane collided with the sea and everything happened in just a moment. This plane crash extinguished the burning lamps of many houses. At the same time, it taught a new lesson to the pilots that how to deal with such conditions in such stormy clouds. Let us understand this as well. Friends, the autopilot does not have eyes. It controls the plane by checking its environment with the help of senses. If your plane has not entered the clouds, then you can avoid it and go in another direction. But if you go inside it, then only one option is left. Until these clouds do not appear, keep the plane in the same direction, no matter how much the plane shakes, how much it sways, how much it rolls. Without caring about all these things, you have to do only one thing. Try to stabilize the plane and not to change the direction, because this is nature. Planes fly with the help of these winds. You cannot go against them. You can fly only with its help. Even if all the sensors of the plane go dead. Even if the autopilot stops working, even if there is an engine failure, you have to do only one thing. Just keep the plane straight and nothing else. Although there can be many problems due to sensors, but at least such an accident will not happen. Flight 447. The biggest mistake the pilot made was that he pulled the side stick backwards. Generally, co-pilots have less experience, and in such dangerous situations, people often panic. Dark night, sensor, autopilot, sound of ice hitting, stall warning alarm. So many problems come with a pilot who has very little experience. You can imagine what would happen to such a plane. The question here is that there are still many co-pilots who have less experience. Even today, planes enter stormy clouds. So can such an incident happen again?